Story time at the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. And trust me, you're gonna want to sit down for this story time. This happened to me as a senior in high school, so I had just turned 18. Felt like I was getting old and I needed to find a partner before I became too old and wrinkly and nobody wanted me anymore. My friends told me to download Tinder and I met this guy named Kyle. He was a sophomore in college going to the same college that I was planning on going to after I graduated. He only lived 30 minutes away and he was really sweet, so I thought I could really grow a strong bond with this man. We FaceTimed a few times before we decided to go to the movies together. After the movie, we went back to his apartment. He said that his apartment was close to the college, but we were driving pretty far from the college. We get to his apartment and he offers me a drink. Me being stupid, I take the drink and I drink it. I noticed that my data was completely shut off and there was no Wi-Fi. So I ask him why and he takes a minute to answer. He says he just couldn't afford it, which was a big red flag. Because how did he FaceTime me all those times at his place? I automatically lose trust for him. He heads to the bathroom and I take that opportunity to look around. I noticed this black bag and I opened it. Something was telling me to look in that bag and what I saw will blow your mind. Part 2 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So he leaves the room and I decide to look around. I see this suspicious looking black bag and I decide to look inside. It was filled with knives covered in blood. I was in denial, child. I was like, maybe it's ketchup. I was coming up with every excuse trying to calm myself down. Because there is no way that I was so unlucky and got paired up on Tinder with a murderer. Now my fingerprints are on the bag. I needed to figure out a way to get home ASAP. I start feeling unusually tired. Like I could fall asleep any second. And I remembered that drink that he gave me when I first arrived at his apartment, he probably put something in it. My main goal now was just to stay awake. He came back in the room, I acted like everything was fine. He's a big man and if he knew that I was onto him, everything could have went south. I tell him that I'm getting pretty tired and I'm ready to go home. The last thing I wanted to do was get in a car with him again. I wasn't even 100% sure where I was. Before we leave the room, I see him grab the black bag. We get into the car. Unable to fight off the medicine, I drift to sleep. And when I wake up, we were on a deserted road surrounded by big fields. Part 3 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. Forgot to mention in the last part, after he grabbed the black bag when we were about to leave, I asked him why he was grabbing it. He said he was going to drop it off to a friend after he dropped me off back home. Which was a fat lie, and here's why. Once I wake up, I notice that we're on a deserted road surrounded by big fields. I instantly started to freak out because I knew that you did not have to pass these big fields to get back to my house. I was getting kidnapped and there was nothing that I could do. He looks over, notices that I'm awake, and looks right back at the road. I try to calm down so things don't get hectic because like I said, he was a big man. Then I ask him where we're going. He just tells me to go back to sleep. Yeah, like, let me just take a nap right now in the car with a stranger who has a bag full of knives, taking me to an unknown location. What a good idea. Obviously, I did not go back to sleep. I had to think of a plan. Little did Kyle know, I always keep a taser in my purse, no matter where I'm going. It was literally my last resort. There was nothing else that I could do. I had to single-handedly take him out, and that's what I did. Quickly reached into my purse, got my taser, and tased him in the face. And that's when things went south. Part 4 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So we're in the car and I tase him in the face with my taser. And once I realized that I had access to my taser, I knew that he was not very smart. Because he put something in my drink and I passed out. Which means he could have looked at my personal belongings and seen the taser. But he didn't. So after I tase him in the face, he swerves the car. He grabs me by my hair. So I take off my seatbelt, turn to him, put my legs up, and start kicking. Now I don't have very much arm strength, but these legs gonna kill you. At this point, he's not even driving anymore. The car is going full speed by itself. So as I'm kicking him in the face, he reaches for the black bag which was on his lap. That's when I did. I quickly reach behind me, unlock the door, literally roll out. I see the car continue to swerve for a few seconds after, but then he manages to make it stable again. He just keeps going straight, never turns back. So now I'm in the middle of nowhere and all I see is big fields for miles and miles. My purse, my taser, and my phone were nowhere to be found. So I start walking. I walk for what seems like hours until I finally start seeing houses. And to the first one I see, they let me in, I tell them what happened. They let me use their phone so I can call the police. Part 5 of the time my Tinder date kidnapped me and left me out in a big field in the middle of nowhere. So now I'm in someone's house and I'm safe and they let me call the police. Police arrive and then I tell them what happened. I gave them a description, I told them everything that I could remember from that night. And I showed them his Tinder page. One of the officers go back to their car. And when they come back, they let me know that his name is not in the system. And at that point, I'm confused. Because did this man fake his identity as well? The police officers ask me where I live and I let them know. And they go, wow, that's pretty far from here. And so I'm like, how far? They answer, about 3 hours away. So that means I was knocked out in his car for 3 hours. I knew we were in the car for 3 hours because going to his apartment did not feel like an hour drive. He was driving for 3 hours. At that point, I'm spooked. And I just want to go home. So the police officers take me home and they told me they'd do more background checks on him and call me and let me know. I got a call like a week later and they told me his real name was Jason. He wasn't in college. He was wanted in Texas for kidnapping some other girls. Story time on how I found out my best friend was 5 months pregnant with my boyfriend's baby. And not only was she pregnant by my boyfriend, no, he was obsessed with me and tried to replace me. Receipts included. Strap in. Forgot to mention, my best friend is 16, my boyfriend is 18, and I am 17. So me and my best friend would have been friends for 2 years. Me and my boyfriend had only been dating for like 3-4 months. I told my best friend everything about my relationship. He knew about every single argument, every single breakup. Eventually it got to the point where we all three would hang out with each other. I was extremely close with my boyfriend and my best friend. They were basically the people closest to me in my life at that time. We all started telling each other everything. But it started to get weird when I noticed that some things I told my best friend, my boyfriend would all of a sudden know about, and some things I only told my boyfriend, my best friend would all of a sudden know about. Which means that they were communicating without me knowing. So that's suspicious. At one point we all went to this party together. They all of a sudden just disappear and I'm looking for them for like half an hour, calling, texting, response. So I start asking people. This one specific person said, "Oh, I saw them go upstairs holding hands, just the two of them." I was ready to kill. Part two of how I found out my best friend was 5 months pregnant with my boyfriend's baby. Not only did she get pregnant by him, no, she was obsessed with me and tried to replace me. So we're at the party and my boyfriend and my best friend are nowhere to be seen. So I ask around and someone tells me that they saw them go upstairs together. So upstairs I go. I see my boyfriend and he's just talking to some friends. Well, I'm like, we all friends. I want to talk too. Where the fuck were you? He's like, "Oh, I was just up here, chilling with the homies." We're all standing in front of a door and then I see my best friend walk out of the bathroom that's right across that door. At the time I didn't really put the pieces together that they just got freaky. But several months after the party, I did start to realize something. My best friend was gaining weight. Everybody else noticed it too. And during these months, my boyfriend also got a new job. We couldn't see each other as much. Like I said, everyone noticed that my best friend was gaining weight. And rumors started to spread that she was pregnant. But no one knew who was the dad. Like I said, me and my best friend told each other everything. So if she was going to tell anybody who the baby daddy was, it would have been me. But I had no clue. She said she was just gaining weight. She texted me and asked if me, her, and my boyfriend could all meet up somewhere to talk. That talk did not end well. Stay tuned for part 3. Part 3 of how I found out my best friend was 5 months pregnant with my boyfriend's baby. Not only was she pregnant, she was obsessed with me and tried to replace me. Receipts included, child. Okay, so rumors are going around that my best friend is pregnant. She texts me and says she wants me, my boyfriend, and her to all meet up somewhere. All 3 of us have not hung out together in a while, so I was down. So we meet up at her house. Parents weren't home, we had the house to ourselves, so it was just the best place to meet up. But when I get there, my boyfriend and my best friend are already sitting on the couch. I cannot believe my eyes, child. This girl had a pregnancy test in her hand. I was like, put that shit away. I'm not fucking playing with you right now. Put that shit away. Basically tells me that it's exactly what it looks like. Told me that it happened at the party. By this time, it was April. I'm thinking, child, that's 5 months. They was mute for 5 months. I was dating this man who is 18, about to be 19, and got my just turned 16 best friend pregnant. But she wasn't apologetic. Good sis was laughing. Something was funny or she planned this shit all along, which was proven right after I got this text message from her after I blacked out and woke up in jail. Pause to read. There's a lot of curse words, so the rest will be on my Instagram. This is a highly requested story time of the second time that I encountered the KKK. The first story time I posted about my first encounter, a lot of people in the comments were saying that I was lying or I was just making it up. Something as serious as the KKK is not something to ever joke about. I have done so much activism and still continue to do activism on my platform that I would never make up something like this. To my viewers know that I live in a really racist area. This is not a surprise. Just keep in mind that calling out people's experiences and saying that they're fake or they're lying can make it hard for other people that have experienced things like that as well to come out about their stories too. In this encounter, I actually did take pictures. I had pictures of my old iPhone 6, but now it's broken. I don't have any access to any of the pictures in that phone anymore. When it did happen, I posted those pictures on my Snapchat story. There's people out there that know that shit actually happened. Anyways, let's get started. So it was literally in the exact same area as it was last time. That creepy old rundown gunpowder factory in the middle of the night. Instead of being with my sister, I was actually with my mom this time. And we were going to pick up my older brother from work. He worked really late for whatever reason. Instead of coming out of the woods like last time, they were just standing there. Part 2. This is the second time that I encountered the KKK. So like I said, it was the middle of the night and I was driving with my mom to go pick up my older brother from work. Where he worked, we also had to drive past that abandoned gunpowder factory. But this time, the KKK wasn't even trying to hide. They were just there, literally standing in front of the building. But then on the other side of the road, there was more of them. People asked me last time how I knew it was the KKK. Y'all, they were wearing hoods. They had their white hoods on. They were not trying to hide. They were trying to make their presence known for whatever reason. So obviously me and my mother speed past. We're like talking about it in the car and then we go pick up my older brother. When we go to pick him up, we tell him what happened. He goes, "I want to see it for myself." I was like, "You're not seeing shit because we're going a different route." I would be past them again willingly. So we go ahead and call the police and tell them that we just saw the KKK. They said they would check the area out. We were supposed to like meet the police around that area. We could tell them exactly where we saw them. But when we got there, They told us that they had arrested somebody, but they weren't in like a white hood. Just a regular person, but they had a gun. I don't know if that person was a KKK member, but we went home safely after that. This is the time I fought my mom because her boyfriend was touching me in my sleep and she defended him. I was 16 when this happened. I'm 20 years old now. He was touching me, she knew about it, and she didn't do anything. Yes, they're still together till this day, and no, I do not talk to either of them. Let's get into it. So my mom had just recently divorced my dad, and so she got a new boyfriend. His name was Daryl. Now let me tell you, I was not rocking with Daryl from jump because he was always a little too touchy. If I sat down next to him, he'd squeeze my knee, would sneak up behind me and rub my shoulder, and when he would hug me, his hands would go a little too far down my back. Whenever he would come over, I'd just stay in my room. But one night, it was like damn near midnight. Mind you, I'm asleep because I don't play about my sleep. I wake up suddenly because I had a feeling somebody was in my room. So I turn on my lamp that's on the side of my bed. When I turn around, I see Daryl in my room with his back turned towards me, trying to sneak out of my room. But not only was he trying to sneak out of my room, he had my panties in his hands. So I look under my covers, and sure enough, my panties are gone. Part 2 gets even worse. This is part 2 of when I fought my mom. 3 of the time I fought my mom because her boyfriend touched me in my sleep and she defended him. So I woke up my mom to tell her that her boyfriend had just touched me in my sleep. And she gets mad at me and starts yelling and screaming at me. With the amount of shit that she put me through, she had no right. So I'm sick of her BS at this point, and so I shove her. I had never put my hands on my mama before this. My mama deserved to get her ass whooped. How toxic she was. If she wasn't my mama, if she was just some other regular bitch, I probably would have already threw hands with her like 10 times. So now we're on the floor of her bedroom, scrapping it out. No, I did not show her no mercy. Obviously, I went and whooped her ass because 16 years of being mistreated. Come on, at this point, I had a heart of steel and hands of steel. So she's screaming and she's yelling and she's talking about, I'm gonna call the police on you. I was like, call them. After I tell them what happened, they're gonna be on the look for your boyfriend. She tells me to get my stuff and get out. I said, say less, so I start packing. I texted a close friend who I had already told about Daryl being a creep, and they came to get me. I lived with that friend for 2 years until I turned 18 and moved into my own place. I have an amazing boyfriend who understands my trauma and takes everything slow with me. I no longer have contact with Daryl or my mom, and now I only see them through social media posts. This is why it's better to have one friend that you hang out with regularly instead of having a big group of friends. And trust me, you're going to want to listen to this story time. So when I was a sophomore in high school, I was kind of going through an identity crisis, and low-key still am. I went to a predominantly white school for the majority of my life, so let's just say I was extremely whitewashed. It was one of those times in my life where if a white person said the N-word around me, I would just laugh. Not because I didn't know it was wrong, but because I wanted to be accepted and I wanted to be like everybody else, and I seeked validation. Sophomore year was really when I started to become who I am today. I wanted to learn way more about my culture and my background. So I started becoming friends with people from other schools that are more diverse. Eventually, I met this group of girls. And I thought these girls were going to be the sweetest girls I would ever meet. Now, this friend group was serving flavor. I'm talking diverse to the T. One night, we decided that we were going to spend the night at one of the girls' houses. Let's call this girl Sally. I kept getting lost on the way to Sally's house, and I thought it was because I didn't know the area that well. Keep in mind, that's what I thought was the reason. I get there and we watch like 4 or 5 movies before I end up falling asleep. And when I wake up, I was in a room full of grown-ass men staring at me. Quick story time since I still have my makeup on. Let me tell you about this old lady that tried to fight me at Walmart. PSA to this old lady, if you're watching this, you could still get slapped any day. I don't like you and I'm willing to fight still. Waiting for you to try it the second time. Anyways, let's get into it. I was at Walmart with my sister because I go everywhere with my sister. We were just looking for hair accessories. Because you know at Walmart sometimes they have those hidden gem items that you probably never thought would be there, but they're there and it's really cheap. So we go there to look for some cute hair accessories. I would just like to clarify that this old lady was white and I had a blonde wig on. Yeah, this old lady pulls up on us and she's like, one thing about me is I hate when people stare at me. What are you staring at? Do you need help? Yeah, if you want to suck a little pussy, just fight it. Anyways, you know what I mean? Like, it's just mad judgmental. I feel like people are judging me. So I'm like, can I help you? She goes, can I touch your hair? Obviously, I say no because who is this old white lady trying to touch me? Don't know you, don't know where you've been. Like, stay away. 6 feet. I don't know what it is about the people that live around me being so bold. I say no, you cannot touch my hair, and she reaches her old wrinkly hands. Next thing you know, she's tugging on my hair. Part 2 right.